On Earth's moon, a bright beam of light appears, and when it flashes off, four mysterious figures dressed in heavy armor begin walking towards a NASA astronaut who is inspecting moon rocks in the distance. As the four approach the astronaut, one grabs the astronaut on his shoulders. A flash of light reappears on them, and they disappear. Deep in the depth of space, on a small, normal-looking planet, the figures appear with the astronaut and begin marching him into a temple surrounded by a field of dead grass. The temple was very tall and very thin. At the base of the temple was a door to the inside. Although it looks normal, there is nothing normal about the temple. Inside the main chamber of the temple, there is a particle energy. It does not define the laws of physics because it does not have a physical form. However, it is so powerful that when you get near it, you will be overwhelmed by its presence. The only way to describe it is that you are being encased in a metal cage that has been filled with water and the walls are closing in on you as you slowly drown. Despite the intense power, it still has one thing that has been trying to obtain, a physical form. Over millennia, beings and creatures have been brought to the temple, and all of them will be consumed by its intense energy. It is believed that consuming souls will create a physical form, and with that form, the energy could conquer the galaxy. The astronaut fell onto the ground of the temple chamber. A loud hissing noise came from the walls, and mist started shooting towards the astronaut. His spacesuit disintegrated in seconds once the mist touched it. The astronaut reached out a knife from his pocket and in self-defense stabbed it into the wall. The mist continued to spread throughout his body as blood falls from his arm onto the knife, and a small piece of the temple breaks off and shoots into space. The mist continues to consume the astronaut until he disintegrates into nothing. Welcome to the Unwanted Matter miniseries. This miniseries was written and narrated by Matt Spear and published with the help of Junior Art Lab. Episode 1, The Brothers. In a metropolitan area, there is a bustle of cars and buses, honking horns and traffic. People in suits clutching briefcases and moving from place to place with hurry and purpose. Huge billboards shine on every block. Gigantic skyscrapers shoot up into the sky. In another part of town, however, there are smaller townhouses and less of the city bustle. In the basement of one of the townhouses, a man lies on a couch, sorting through pictures of wedding photos. The man's name was Mark. He looked over at the rusting clock on the wall and slowly sits up. He runs out the front door of his house and hops onto his bike. He rides to downtown. He gets off his bike and walks inside a skyscraper with his bike. As he walks into the door, a security guard stops him. "Please leave your bike outside, sir." Mark stares at the security guard and keeps walking the bike. "You can't bring that into the building, sir. Take it out, or I will have to take it out." As the security guard walks closer to Mark, a guy in a suit calls out, "Don't worry about it. We can talk outside." He gestures at the door, and Mark walks out. Mark takes out several wedding photos and hands them to the guy. The guy flips through the photos. "Thank you, Mark. These are really nice photos. Would you be interested in taking a job as a full-time photographer in a company? We would love to have you," the guy asks. Mark looks at the guy calmly. "That's not my thing. It is all work and no play. You don't get to have any fun." The guy shakes his head. "Really? But you could make some real money off of this job. How could you turn this down? Come here, let me show you the website." Mark's phone starts to ring in his pocket. He breathes a sigh of relief. He takes out his phone and realizes it's his brother Steven calling. Mark groans. Guy hands him a phone with the website on it. "Sorry, but I really have to take this," Mark says as he quickly walks away. But as soon as he's out of the guy's earshot, he declines. It is obvious that he's avoiding Mark. Yet his brother doesn't seem to give up and keeps calling unrelentingly. Stephen's persistence eventually wins, and Mark has no choice but to finally answer the phone. What? Mark rolls his eyes. Mark, I finally got the appointment with the lawyer to discuss the inheritance of our parents' legacy. The appointment's at 8:30 tonight. Be there this time. Mark groans. As soon as he hears this from the other side of the phone. Why does it have to be tonight? Stephen raises up his voice. Mark clearly notices the frustration in his tone. It could have been long over if you just helped me book this appointment instead of partying at weddings. It was at this point that Mark came to the realization that he could no longer avoid this meeting. Fine, I'll be there tonight. Don't be late, Stephen warns and then hangs up. Stephen honks his car horn and jerks the brakes as a pedestrian walks past. He leashes his anger at the stranger. Watch out, he yells before pulling his car in. On the top floor of his condo, Stephen puts his briefcase down as his 5-year-old son rushes up to him. Dad, you're home, he yells and hugs him. Stephen walks into the dining room as his wife, Victoria, is putting dinner on the table. Welcome home, honey. How was your day teaching? Dinner's ready. Stephen looks at his watch. I have to go meet the lawyer now. I can't wait to get this over with. Are you sure Mark will show up tonight? He better be. I'm running out of patience. Victoria hands Stephen his coat. Don't get too worked up tonight. He's your only brother. I'll try, but you know how he gets. Stephen closes the door behind him. Across town, Mark is sitting in the lawyer's office as Stephen walks in. Stephen is surprised that for once, Mark is there before him. There really is a first time for everything. The lawyer clears his throat. After your parents' unfortunate passing, there's a large sum of money that needs to be divided up. The lawyer puts down their parents' will. Mark stares at this document spacing out. He finds the document confusing. You still with us, Mark? Stephen checks. Our parents should have written this simpler. If you did get a useful university degree, then you'd understand. He likes to blame Mark for not becoming a teacher like their parents. This always annoys Mark. He hates having Stephen talk down to him with a condescending tone. A science degree should not give him the right to prejudge. Maybe I won't have to constantly force you to be responsible. I wonder why we grew up in the same family but ended up so different. If only Mom and Dad could hear how stuck up you've become. The lawyer clears his throat. Maybe today isn't the best time. How about we reschedule when you can work out your differences? This was the news Mark had been waiting for. Without hesitation, he runs out of the office. Stephen sighs deeply in frustration. Seriously? You're just going to walk out on us? Stephen apologizes to the lawyer and runs after Mark. Stephen runs up to Mark, angrily, who is getting on his bike. However, as he approaches him, a loud whoosh comes from above. A dark asteroid flies overhead and crashes into the park across the street. Mark starts running towards the asteroid. He is curious to know what it is and where it landed. Stephen, however, who was not aware of the asteroid, starts chasing after Mark, assuming he was simply running away from him. Away from the streetlights, there was nothing but darkness in the park. The only illumination comes from the small moving purple glow shining inside the asteroid. It dances like bright fire and flares the area around it. However, the low screeching sound coming from it destroys all the comfort from the light. Every animal in the area knew to keep its distance from the beam. Mark, however, does not. Mark stares at the strange glare up ahead. Except for the screech of the lights, there's not a sound around. No rustle in the bush or call from a cricket. It was deserted quiet. Mark slowly lurks towards it. His heart beats in his chest as his footsteps echo off the trees. He's tempted by this mysterious object, but at the same time nervous. His entire attention is captivated by the shine. It was as if it was whispering into his soul, compelling Mark to come closer. As Mark slowly skulks towards it, he begins to notice bright red blood dripping off of it. Everything on Mark's mind disappears as he slowly reaches out his hands towards the deadly shine. The beam gets brighter and the screech gets louder as his hands get closer and closer to touching it. From behind Mark comes a cry. "Mark! No! Don't touch it!" It is Stephen. He sees the red blood oozing down and suspects the rock is dangerous. Mark could not hear Stephen's cry. It was as if he was hypnotized by the rock. His hand was so close that he could feel the heat from the light. Stephen, in an attempt to stop Mark, grabs his hand. Just as Mark makes contact with the rock, Stephen's hand on top of Mark also touches the rock. The purple light flows into the brothers' body, illuminating them from their insides. The brothers scream in pain as the light fades away into the darkness. What was that mysterious asteroid the brothers touched? What will it do to them? And how does the infinite particle energy fit in? Come back next time in the Unwanted Matter mini-series to find out. Thank you for listening.